Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just frying. We're frying as we try to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the pan?
Oh my goodness, the fish are frying and the sky is flying. You and I are on the same page. For anybody new to the program, Tom and I have been covering this beat for what, 17 years now?
Wow. Yeah. That's right.
Like almost 17 years. And I remember Tom was the one that called it as like, hey, it seems like we're doing a show called iPad Today about 7 years before an iPad is invented.
We were doing right. Tablet show, after the Microsoft tablet failed, but the iPad hadn't come out yet. Yeah.
Lots going on. Nowadays, we're trying to find our footing in terms of like, so where is the good stuff?
Yeah, how do we make sense of all this? What do we watch? Where do we watch it? How do we watch it the way we want it? And we always start with a supply run.
Supply run.
The Netflix gaming strategy appears to be coming into focus for me, Brian. There are a couple of different strategies. One is to give you free access, no additional charge to your current subscription anyway, to get older top titles. So we already knew about that. And that's the one where I'm like, is this going to work? Grand Theft Auto, The Case of the Golden Idol, stuff like that.
And to be clear, we're talking about the type of thing where for the uninitiated, like a computer somewhere far away is rendering on a high quality graphics processing unit a cool game and it's just streaming you the game.
No, actually, that's not the way Netflix has been doing it. They're just like, hey, here's the game, but they switched to what Brian was doing for some titles, right? So you can play it on your television and use a controller. And in some cases, those are downloads. In some cases, they are streamed. But Netflix is leaning towards you're going to have a local copy of their stuff a lot of the time. So they're not yet trying to do the cloud service like the NVIDIA GeForce Now or the Xbox cloud gaming or anything like that. But they are trying to appeal to, I don't know if I'd say hardcore gamers, but they're trying to tell hardcore gamers like, hey, we're not going to get you to replace your current gaming habits, but you already have Netflix. Want to play GTA? Maybe you don't want to dig it out, or maybe you didn't buy it. Like, we'll give you that. And that strategy appears to be working because Grand Theft Auto is the most popular game on Netflix right now.
I 100% believe this, especially because I have bought Grand Theft Auto 5, I believe no fewer than 4 times now. And I don't like, one was on a PS3, one was on a PS4, one was on Steam. I wouldn't be surprised if I bought it again on like a Steam live streaming service or something. I'm like, all I want to do is steal a 737 and fly.
Now, the other successful strategy is the one where it's definitely a local copy of the game, and it's related to one of Netflix's TV series or movies. We've had a Stranger Things game from the beginning. Queen's Gambit game, definitely in there. It's a solid, if somewhat obvious, fandom strategy. But there's another corner of that strategy that I think makes this all make sense for me. The Verge highlighted that Netflix is putting out interactive fiction games related to their reality shows, where you get to enter the reality show and be a player in the game.
When you say interactive fiction, are we talking like kind of like the Telltale Games strategy?
Yeah.
Of like so-and-so will remember you said that?
Yeah. And, there's a little bit of the Farmville aspect of it too, right? But it's not a puzzle game.
By which you mean like there's a reason to show up every single day,
Yeah.
just to make sure that you poke a.
If you interact
cow.
with enough people, you get some points and blah, 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 blah. The Verge interviewed Netflix about this, and Netflix said, we've seen a lot of success with interactive fiction games like Selling Sunset, Perfect Match, and The Ultimatum. The Verge used the term the Netflix reality universe, the NRU, for this series of games. Netflix calls them Netflix stories, but you're talking about shows like Too Hot to Handle. The premise of Netflix's Too Hot to Handle is that 10 hot people live in a house for 10 weeks, but are forbidden from any sexual actions with themselves or each other.
With themselves or each other. Okay, all right.
Like, yeah, right? You know what I mean? No divinals lyrics can be executed upon.
Hey, that was very subtle, very well played.
And you cannot kiss. That is outlawed. Like, you can't kiss each other. So 10 hot people, 10 weeks in a house, can't do any of that. And there is a money prize that Squid Game style is reduced every time someone is caught breaking those rules.
So,
you can play the Too Hot to Handle game. And it's really popular. It has a dedicated community on Reddit. They have organized their own things like Main Character Monday, where players post screenshots of their in-game avatars. Apparently that's a big part of the game, is making your avatar look super hot for the game. But
Tom, I have to confess, I've never ever seen so much as an advertisement for one of these games. But somebody who is not me claims that in some unscrupulous websites on the internet, there are ads for video games of, shall we say, sensual topics.
Sure.
Is that pretty much what we're talking around Netflix getting into?
It's the USA Up All Night to the local adult DVD store version of that, I think.
I think you're being too kind, but yes, I pick up.
Maybe it's Cinemax. I don't know, but it's on that side of the street. Yeah. This is definitely saying to a fandom of these reality shows, which of course no one in our audience watches these reality shows. We get that. But apparently lots of people do, who are definitely not you in our audience. And those people are super fans. And so they're like, yeah, when those 12 episodes or whatever of the regular season are over, I want to keep enjoying Selling Sunset. I want to keep enjoying Too Hot to Handle. And so the game lets them do that and has a community of other fans that they can either speak to on Reddit. In some cases, they can interact with in the games.
Tom, it is very tempting to try to take the high road here and pretend like I would never, and what is this or whatever. But here are true facts. If Amazon offered a version of The Boys or Invincible that was a dating sim, I would be on that immediately. I would be trying to rack up my score count.
And The Verge pointed out, when Amazon put out the Fallout show, a bunch more people started playing Fallout because they were watching the show, right? People enjoying a show then go out and seek more ways to enjoy that show. That's just a thing we do now. So I look at this now and I'm like, oh, Netflix isn't going after a gaming service. They're not trying to compete with NVIDIA, Xbox, Sony. Netflix wants to extend the world that they're building. And they realize that gaming is a very lucrative and massively popular way of doing that, especially if you think of gaming writ large, right? Not just shoot 'em up games, which are incredibly popular, but mobile games, which are actually even more popular. More people play solitaire than Fallout.
Well, and which, by the way, was one of my favorite parts of Fallout, where next to a computer, somebody was literally playing the actual card game Solitaire.
Yeah.
but to be honest, I'm actually down for that because, like, when I do one of those dumb mindless games, like basically when I play Marvel Snap, I'm playing
Right.
I don't know, rock paper scissors. It just happens to be in the MCU, and as a result, there are characters I now know about that I wouldn't have known about, and that kind of stuff.
So if you take the fact that Netflix has publicly said, we're all of television now, we talked about that on a previous episode, right? We're not just HBO, we're CBS and Lifetime and everything. You now have an unlimited set of potential audiences for your games. I absolutely think that what Netflix is trying to do is build up a second service at no additional charge right now until it's so popular that it becomes a tier that you pay extra for. I don't know that they ever quick stir the streaming service, right? I don't think they're going to like separate the way they did streaming and DVDs. But if anybody doesn't remember, Netflix started as a DVD service. It was just a DVD service. And the original Netflix streaming was just a free thing you got when you subscribed to the DVDs, the way the gaming is now a free thing you get when you subscribe to streaming.
Okay, so and this is a little bit of a tease for one of our letters that we got this week, but it's like, could you imagine Netflix taking on ads? But if you have enough points in the Netflix verse for having played enough of the games, you didn't have to see the ads.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see something like that?
It's the complexity of administering the system that would stop them, or the ad sales people saying that will bring our inventory too low. Otherwise, yes, if they can overcome those two objections, like if it becomes super easy, which that seems probable, and they can be like, yeah, no, the inventory will still be good enough. I also see them go in the other direction and saying, you know what? Games are now available at this slightly more expensive tier. They're not at the lower tier, but they will have ads in them if you want them. So you can get them free still, but you have to have ads. At this tier, the games don't have ads.
Yeah. Seer. I guess I was going one step farther by saying like the programming itself would add ads the way we've seen with like Amazon Prime and so on.
Right, because Netflix has the ad tier. I'm following you. So that is one way they could go, is like, hey, earn out your ads by playing the games. But the other direction is, oh, the ad-supported tier? Yeah, you get games with that. Oh, you're paying for the ad-free tier? That doesn't remove the ads from the games until you go to the next tier up. Then they're there. Then you get to remove the ads from the games.
I honestly, I think 5 years ago, I would have had a hard take on this, but I really don't now, because it's like everything's getting really, really mushy in terms of like what the obvious strategy is. I don't know. What is your read on this, Tom?
I was thinking when they first launched this that it was very clearly like, oh, Netflix is going to do a gaming service. It's probably going to be a cloud gaming service because they're good at cloud stuff. And they're going to grow it very slowly the way they did with streaming back in the day, and then they'll eventually spin off the Netflix gaming service, which is separate from the Netflix service, and there'll be two separate things that you have to pay separately for. I don't think that anymore. I think Netflix wants to increase the amount of content and increase your like bonding to that content by giving you games that are fun to play and are in many cases around that content, though maybe not all cases. I don't think they want to be a cloud streaming service. I think they want to just extend the stories they tell into gaming. And so gaming will be another way to keep you from canceling your Netflix subscription and also keep you as a fan of whatever property you're a fan of on Netflix.
Well, and it's definitely true that it's like if you get deep enough into any game where it's like, well, I mean, you could stop right now, but you're all the way up to level 999. Be a real shame to lose all of that. So it's a matter of the trade-off of emotional investment. As a matter of fact, I would love cordkillers@gmail.com. Let us know if any of you out there peripherally got involved in a story-based universe. but just couldn't let yourself go for fear of the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah. I love that. The Marvel Snap is a great example of that. And yeah, is there a subscription service that you realized, oh, the reason I started the service was for this, but I found all these other things and now I can't get out of it. We probably should do a Cordkillers game is what I'm learned from all of this.
You know what? Actually, I've been thinking about this. We'll talk about it when we get to the letters situation, but like, we finally are like playing the game for reals with Cordkillers and our support over at patreon.com/Cordkillers. And so far, for however many years, we've been just guessing what you guys want. Why don't you just tell us what you want? What would make it worth it for just $1 an episode that we could do extra? Because I guarantee you, there's no shortage of love that Tom and I have for this fandom, this community, this story that we're doing. Amos believes enough in us that he's switching everything for us. So do me a favor, if you have a spare buck, just, I ain't even going to say the cup of coffee thing. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. But beyond that, like, if there's something extra we can do, we'll do it. Like, we would really like this to be a very, very lucrative, most exciting day of the week for us.
Yeah. So get on over there and check it out. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's move on to the search party. We are always looking around for new things to watch, and one of the biggest new things to premiere last week was Star Wars The Acolyte. We were not alone. 4.8 million views in the first day of streaming, and a really interesting article again on The Verge talking about how they had to decide to remove all of the usual elements that tell you this is Star Wars. So they put it 100 years before the events of Star Wars Episode 1, A Phantom Menace. So they had no stormtroopers, no Emperor, no R2-D2, no astromechs of any kind, no galactic war, no Empire, no rebels, nothing. This is entirely without familiar characters and without a lot of familiar elements. And yet, Brian, I watched both episodes of Star Wars Acolyte, and I was pretty sure it was good. Even though it looks more like the prequels than it does like the middle 3 episodes, it's got the used lived-in universe. It's got no Skywalkers. It's got no Palpatine. And so far, the story's been pretty good.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Brian.
Want to know how we're brothers from another mother?
What's that?
Is because I'm going to ask a question, and I already know what your answer is going to be.
All right.
In fact, I won't even ask the whole question. I'll say, hey, Tom, how does it compare to...
Not as good. It's not Andor. It's not Andor. And I'm not ruling out the possibility that could get close. But the one thing that Andor did was said, we're going to make a really good, how would you describe the story? Like a crime story?
It's a spy movie.
Spy movie.
Happens to be in a heist universe.
Spy movie heist story. Then we're going to put it in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. This is a revenge story. And the fact that I have to say question mark is why I'm like, yeah, it's not as good as Andor, because I knew what the Andor story was from the beginning and I was in. This story seems like a little bit harder to get my hands around yet, but they're doing a great job of subverting my expectations. So in multiple levels, they're subverting your expectations of Star Wars because you're like, yeah, there's Jedi, I guess. We even go to the Jedi Temple at one point. But None of this is like, well, there, Yoda's around no, Yoda's probably alive. He's 800 years old in Empire Strikes Back. So he's got to be pushing 600 in the play. No, none of that. No Palpatines, not even the word Sith, nothing. It's Jedi is the only thing that you get. And of course the Galactic Republic. And everything else is new. Everything else you're learning. So it subverts your expectations in that way. Then it subverts your expectations in introducing you to characters and immediately giving stakes and being like, yep, no one's safe in this universe. Got it.
Well, I'm 100% aware that in no way is there a narrative crossover, but from everything you said, it feels like the vibes are similar to Knights of the Old Republic, the BioWare game for Xbox. Would you put it in that category where it's like you understand there's lightsabers and whatnot?
Yeah,
they seem to have their own rules. Like even then, like the Sith are basically like just armored knights back in the day.
Yeah, it's better than that, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Tom, I need you to choose your words very carefully.
No.
Did you play Knights of the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic 2, the BioWare games?
I did not play 2. I played a very little bit of 1. But when I say it's better than that, I say it's better than that concept.
Okay.
It's because it is giving you a rich character-driven story that is sort of doesn't matter whether you've got Sith or Jedi around. Except in so much as you need to identify, the Jedi are law enforcement. They're government. So they're the good guys.
Or the guys in charge.
Yeah,
so,
right. They're the folks trying to keep peace and order, and they're very good at it. No one questions that.
Right. A little bit like in The Mandalorian, where it's like the guy from Kim's Convenience is a space cop. And you're like, oh, dear.
Yeah. Except in Mandalorian, it's questionable whether, the government is stable, because it's a brand new republic. There's no question about that, right? There's no hint of like, oh, the Jedi are corrupt. None of that stuff from the prequels. It's like, no, they're the establishment. Things work pretty well. People have faith in the government. They don't maybe love to see the cops, but they're not worried that the cops are going to shake them down. This is all very stable. When the Jedi show up, you do have several backwaters where it's like, whoa, a Jedi showed up here. What's that about? People from Coruscant are here. Crazy.
A bunch of people who would prefer to live in the shadows get a little bit risky. Okay, got it. So it's like when the Boy Scouts show up. It's like, oh, doggone it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching this next episode. We got 2 the first week, and then it's 1 a week from now until it finishes.
Quick check-in.
Yeah.
Is this a just friend Tom to friend Brian? Are you going to look me in the eye and tell me that friend Brian, who loves Andor, should invest or no? Or wait?
Wait.
Okay, I'll wait.
Because as Sang points out, there are occasionally lines like, fight me with all your strength.
Keep in mind, I have children who watch a lot of anime. So that sounds like something that I would hear.
But I'm 72% towards, I think it's a 72% chance that I could recommend this to you. We'll see where it goes.
Okay, so 1 more week, we'll check in.
Yeah, we'll keep checking in on Acolyte.
Okay.
Either here or in After Talk, which is our Patreon exclusive. Couple other things here. Peaky Blinders movie coming to Netflix with Cillian Murphy starring in it. The Oppenheimer guy, also a Peaky Blinders guy, but yes, he'll be back in the movie. Creator Stephen Knight wrote the screenplay, and Tom Harper set to direct that one. You enjoyed the Peaky Blinders, right?
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then kind of, I think this might be good. There were certainly moments in the openings that I thought were good, but you didn't get that far in either.
I got 2 episodes in and I enjoyed it, but it was one of those that I guess I wasn't enjoying enough to remember to go back. So I've always meant to, honestly.
Experience.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Opening titles for the Among Us animated series, which I still don't think we have a home for yet. But it is from the Titmouse animation folks, and looks like it's, true to the Among Us game concept and a fun little animated romp.
So just basically constantly, who's the Judas?
Yeah, there's a big black Among Us character, shadowy character that looms behind them, but you don't know who it really is. And they make pizza. And they have a We're Still Alive party.
Of course.
Yeah. The first Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja trailer is out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle trailer. I left the most important word out. August 9th release, 12 episodes coming to Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon.
Oh my God. Hold on. I think you just stumbled on something. I would pay more money to watch Teenage Mutant Ninjas who were not turtles.
Who are not turtles.
Yeah. Just like deformed, like they have 7 ears on their forehead.
See, when the turtles first came out, that's what everyone thought of, and it was subversive. But now it's just normal, so we need to go back. I like this. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And then, do you know the Decameron by Boccaccio?
Man, I can make.
Who doesn't, right? Neither do I. No, it is one of those. I don't remember exactly. I think it's set in the 1400s. I think it was written later, but it's old timey porn, which means it's not even considered porn by today's standards, but it was like, one of the earliest widely published descriptions of, people having debauched parties. And it's set during a plague. So all the rich people like hole up in a palace and then get it on with each other.
How many years back was this set?
1380s, 1340s.
Okay.
Like that.
It looked like, there is a wonderful. Sorry, I'm gonna
1348 Black Death era.
I took my daughter last year to San Francisco, and we went to the penny arcades, and it was really fascinating to see just how saucy the stereoscopic, rotoscoped slideshows were, and that was 500 years. After this.
Oh, this is contemporary. It was written in the 1300s as well.
What?
Yeah. Anyway, Netflix's series is more recently created, but it's based on the book. I didn't realize the book was from the 1340s. It was completed in 1353.
Wait a minute. So this is roughly the equivalent of like an even older. What was it? The what were the tales of the bawdy tales?
Chaucer.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then, Netflix sauced it up quite a bit. Anyway, it's coming to Netflix July 25th, and it is from
Tales. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yes. It is from the Teenage Bounty Hunters creator, Kathleen Jordan, and Orange is the New Black creator, Genji Cohen. So if you like one or both of those, might have a good chance of liking the Decameron. July 25th on Netflix.
I think Genji Cohen is currently batting 1,000 in my book. I can't think of anything. Well, I mean, like later episodes of Orange is the New Black and of Weeds kind of fell off. But in terms of her initial starting points, I can't think of anything that I've seen that wasn't good.
Yeah. So good team behind it and classic source material. All right, let's move on to finding some buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
And the piece of buried treasure that I am going to unearth for you today is my second reference to Lovely Runner on Viki. This is a K-drama available on the Viki streaming service. And earlier when I mentioned it, I just started it and was saying it was pretty good. I can now say I finished it and it was great. I think people are calling it a time slip romance instead of a time travel romance, because what happens is the main character has had an accident and can't walk. She's in a wheelchair, but she is a huge fan of this boy band called Eclipse, and specifically one of the members of it.
And she goes back to like high school, but she can walk back at that time.
Exactly. So in the first episode, the person that she has a crush on dies. He commits suicide, jumps off a building. And she has bought on the equivalent of eBay his watch and is wearing it. And she slips out of her wheelchair, falls into a creek, sees the news because she's great. She's crying. And the watch takes her back to high school, where it turns out she actually would have known this guy. She just didn't know it because it was a big high school. She finds him and tries to save him in the past. And in the past, she can walk. The part that I didn't know the last time I talked about it is she goes back and forth a couple of times. Like she does a thing and then that's it. She goes back to the present. He's alive, but he dies a different way. And so then she has to go back and be like, okay, so don't screw it up this time. Let's make sure, because the first time they're together because they knew each other in high school, and that causes the problem. So now she's like, oh, we should not be together because I messed with things. And I know what caused him to be despondent now the first time. So I'm going to stop him from having a singing career now, but he shouldn't be with me. Anyway, it all ends up well and they end up happily ever after because it's a K-drama, but it's fun, man. I like the back and forth and it's very sweet. And the music's actually pretty good. Like for a TV show created band, they're not bad.
So this is the part where we're still figuring out the rules, because like I could probably go 10 minutes on this theme. Do we want to save it for after talk or?
Well, I don't know. You mean just on the time slip theme? Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically like, how could I put it? The whole like going back and doing it right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read Peter F. Hamilton's Commonwealth saga.
Yeah.
That begins with the book Pandora's Star and then goes into Judas Unchained and then picks up 3,000 years later, where I'll keep this short. We'll put it in here. Basically, there's half the story is in a sci-fi universe, post-singularity, where people like, download their consciousnesses, right. Might as well keep a backup and all that stuff. But there's like something that's growing, and the thing that is growing happens to be the other story, which is a fantasy story where somebody realizes that he has telekinesis and can pull back time or whatever. And it's like, well, how do you reconcile these two? The answer is, spoiler alert, that it's like a matrix in the scientific universe that is a simulation of this fantasy universe. And this guy just keeps Groundhog Daying everything, trying to make everything perfect for everyone. And one of the times he makes it like 1,000 or 1,200 years, and then dang it, it still screws up. And so he has to unmake his great grandchildren to go back and do it right this time.
Yeah.
Similar themes is what it seems like.
Yeah. It's quite a bit less complex than Peter F. Hamilton, as you might have imagined. But yeah, what I admired about it is they held on to a lot of those concepts and played with them straight until the very end, because it's a romance. And so, if you're expecting it to be Peter F. Hamilton style consistency, you're not going to get that. But they did really interesting stuff. One of my favorites was that she realizes that if she says something about the future that would affect current events, like, Barack Obama will become president of the United States, no one can hear her and time pauses.
Yeah.
So at one point she uses that to escape from a room she's not supposed to be in by just yelling facts about the future until she can run out of the room, and then everything starts to resume.
Okay. The Chicago Bulls three-peat.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
right,
Stuff
yeah.
like that. Also, the first time she gets sent to the future, she memorizes the lottery numbers for a particular day. Because she's like, oh no, oh my gosh, I think I know how to get back. Let me do this for my brother. And then there's a whole scene where she like tells her brother in the past, like, just remember these numbers. I can't tell you why, because then she'll get muted. But they're really important numbers. So just remember these numbers. So the brother remembers the numbers, gets drunk one day, and is like, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket with those stupid numbers that my sister gave me. And this is the day she said they were really important, but he tells everyone in line.
Oh no!
Because he's
For
drunk.
Everybody, yes.
And so he has to split the prize with like hundreds of people.
Wait, you know about that real life story, right, Tom? Where like thousands of people all got the lottery number exactly right on the same day. Do you know about this?
It sounds familiar, but I don't remember anything about it. No.
Fortune cookies.
Oh.
Everybody played their fortune cookie
numbers,
and it happened to be right.
Oh, that's amazing.
It also reminds me a little bit of I don't know if you remember the movie Frequency, where the guy was lamenting that he didn't buy the stock Yahoo, and so when he's back, it's like, well, I can't tell you why, but here's a magic word that will always be magic for you. It's Yahoo.
What about you? Any buried treasure to tell folks about?
Heck yeah, dude. 2.5 times, like 2 full rewatches in the same day, and then like half a listen just to the audio of it. Created by Richard Linklater of School of Rock fame and Slacker, and he also did Dazed and Confused, I think. But Austin legend, Hitman had. All I knew going into it was that it had 97% positive ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. I knew nothing else. Tom, there's one thing I love in my movies. It's when they pretend to be one thing, but turn out to be something else. In this case, I didn't know what it was going to pretend to be, and I certainly didn't know what it was going to turn into. What it pretends to be is a dork becomes a hitman awesome guy. What it secretly is a rom-com with a dark narrative thread to it. The second time I watched it, it is amazing because all of the Hitman fantasy talk, it's like he dresses up in costumes to try to like be the perfect hitman for whoever it is that he's trying to seduce into, handing over money so that they could throw him in jail. And then you start to notice like the language is like, well, that's awfully sexual language, isn't it? And then it turns out like, oh, wait, this entire movie is about seduction, which is why it's a rom-com. Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Who's in Hitman?
I was convinced these were 2 super duper famous people that I just happen to have not ever heard of before. Turns out this is their breakout hit. They're just unfathomably attractive people. And it's they also do, I will spoil this one bit. On the second viewing, I realized, so there's somebody who plays the hitman for the police and somebody who is called to adventure to play the hitman because old hitman has, I don't know, a Me Too thing or whatever. But at the time they meet, they're roughly the same amount of attractive. By the end of the movie, one of them looks like, I don't know, who's the character from Always Sunny in Philadelphia that becomes a disaster that they keep on teasing forever and ever. And meanwhile, dork guy is suddenly like just awesome and buff beyond words, and these gently nudge it the entire way through. It was a lot of fun. I really liked it.
Chat room saying that's Glenn Powell, and his breakout was Anyone But You, but he was also in Top Gun Maverick, apparently.
Oh, that's right. Was he like the new Iceman in that one? Maybe
he was the young, the young version of Iceman. Is that right?
Yeah.
He was the
Jerk.
prick, says Zach. Okay, good. Now we know.
No, it's great. It's great. I watched it twice.
And he co-wrote the movie? Paula says, wow.
Yes. It's amazing.
That's amazing. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, by all means, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Did you know, Brian, that I am doing a free preview of my tech newsletter this week?
You know what? I've been thinking for a bit that you should probably do a tech newsletter. And I know you wanted to charge a lot of money for it, but I'm just going to throw this out here. I think it should be free.
Yeah. Well, it is all week long. The tech newsletter is always free on Thursdays. Once a week, you get my specific technology news perspective in a way you don't get it on Daily Tech News Show, the other show I do. Daily Tech News Show, I've been doing for 11 years. I've been doing a kind of a Daily Tech News Show for 20 years. And in those shows, I'm playing arbiter. Right. I'm doing the round table and I throw in my perspectives, but I'm trying to get as many different ones as possible. In the newsletter, it's just me, Brian.
Some people might call you, quote, being a professional, quote, being respectful to both sides of every issue. But oh no. By the way, change it from Free Tom Newsletter to these Toms are wild.
Free Tech Newsletter. Free tech newsletter. But yeah, the tech's gone wild is what you're trying to say, right? Yeah. So all week, including the Apple WWDC stuff today, absolutely free. No need to pay to get any of it, so that you can see what it's like to get that perspective Monday through Friday instead of just on Thursdays. And once again, that email or that URL is freetechnewsletter.com.
Okay,
go check it out.
Just 20 seconds. Give me a little preview of what I missed on the WWDC stuff.
Oh, I will in scanning the horizon.
Oh, doggone it.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
Okay, so the non-Cordkiller stuff at WWDC is all AI, except guess what Apple calls it? Apple Intelligence.
God damn. Of course they have to make their own.
Because it's also AI.
Name.
It's genius.
Yes. No.
Anyway, so Apple's move is to put machine learning and generative models into things. So they're like, hey, photos is better because you can just tell it like, where's that picture where I wore the green dress at the wedding? And it can now just go find that, right? It's using that kind of model. There's a feature called Rewrite that can go in and like help you, like all these other tools, like summarize, draft a measure, change the tone, all of this stuff. But it's all on device for the most part. So that's the big impressive thing is the data never leaves your computer, or in the rare instances that it does, it's going in a private loop on an Apple computer that's end-to-end encrypted that Apple can't even see what's being asked. Unless you want to ask ChatGPT, in which case they made a deal with OpenAI where it'll say, would you like to ask ChatGPT this? They'll see your data and you can go, yeah, ask them that specific thing. And it'll be like, great. So they send it to ChatGPT for free. You don't got to pay. If you do pay, you can link your account and get all of the extra benefits they get because you pay OpenAI. And they're not going to just do that for OpenAI. They're also going to do it for other companies, which they did not name.
Tom, there are so many questions I've wanted to ask OpenAI, but I don't want OpenAI to know that I'm asking those questions. This is, I think, going to be a very powerful thing for Apple.
As far as cord cutters go, there is an updated version of tvOS coming to the Apple TV later this year, and they added Insight. Insight lets you swipe up on your remote and see the names of the actors that are portraying their characters in that screen, as well as any songs that are playing at the time.
Tom.
Yes, Brian.
It sounds vaguely familiar, like maybe something I like that maybe it sounded like you thought was like silly that I liked. I had a hard time figuring out what it was.
Listen, Brian. I have a feeling maybe, tell me if I'm right, you're referring to Amazon. What was it? Y-Ray? Z-Ray?
It was X-Ray, and
X-Ray.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And my take on X-ray has always been, why do I need to use the screen for that when I can just pull out IMDb on my own on my phone? Well, now I know why I don't want to do that, Brian. It's because Apple made it.
Apple's like number one move is like name a thing that's already been happening,
And
then
we'll
like,
do it.
And picture Apple like taking in a puff of a joint and going like, I don't know, man. It just seems to me like you should be able to pause a movie and suddenly you see all the people and songs that are in there.
And Apple's mom is in the kitchen going, it's called X-ray.
Like, you know what? I'm going to invent it. It's going to be called Y-Ray.
It's Insight, because I had the insight to think of. Anyway, it's called Insight. Also, tvOS getting improved enhanced dialogue. They already have that setting, but now there's multiple settings. Could really isolate the dialogue for you. Subtitles will automatically show up when you mute, or if you skip back and rewind, it'll add them. 21:9 projector support. I don't know how many of you all have a 21:9 aspect ratio projector, but if you do, you can now use an Apple TV to show the original wide screen of a movie if it supports it on a 21:9 projector. And then the screensavers on Apple TV, they already supported your photos, but they are now adding movie moments and a Snoopy screensavers. I don't know how many people are.
I'm only going to chime in on the 21.9. Like, get yourself a 21.9 monitor. Once you go 21.9, you'll never be able to not turn on a dime. That's what FDR said. FDR said it best during the Great Recession. Netflix is also ending support for apps on the second and third gen Apple TVs as of July 31st. Those are 12-year-old Apple TVs. Apple doesn't even support them anymore. So good for you, Netflix, for supporting them that long. Netflix is testing a new design for its other TV apps. So it would replace the static tiles with boxes that enlarge when you hover over them, and not only plays a trailer, but lets you see a synopsis and other info like the year it came out, genre, stuff like that. And the sidebar menu is being replaced by a top menu. It seems like interface design just goes back and forth. No, it should be on top. No, it should be on the side. No, it should be on top. Well, it's back on the top. That'll have search, home, shows, movies, and my Netflix. If you're looking for the old categories from the side tab, they will be in the search tab. So if you press search, you'll see the categories. They're testing this design. They're not rolling it out to everybody, but if it goes well with the test, they will. Yeah, they're testing it. What happens when you hover over a box to see whether or not it enlarges?
Does it not only enlarge, but enrage? If it enrages, then they won't roll it out to everyone. Max is raising its prices. The standard ad-free plan is now $17 per month, up $1 per month. The ultimate ad-free plan will be $21 per month. That's also up $1 per month. That's the one that adds 4K UHD streaming and 4 devices at once. And the $10 plan stays the $10 plan. That's the ad-supported plan. But, you know, they're raising the price of the ads, I guess, so they're not raising your price.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where all this is going.
How about this one? I know you love a good government regulation story, Brian.
Oh, my God. I'm still waiting to hear one ever.
The Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission, the CRTC, announced last Wednesday that it will charge streaming services a 5% fee on all their revenues if they generate $25 million per year in revenue. This applies to both video and music, by the way.
Yeah, basically it's a nickel tax if you're big enough.
And only on Canadian revenue. They're not charging it on global revenue.
This feels like too big of a story for us to possibly cover in this segment. I mean, let me just say this. Canada also says you're not allowed to have too many Americans on TV.
On broadcast, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and they have some streaming stuff too that Netflix voluntarily complies with, I guess, or something. The information sources say Apple held talks at the end of last year with China Mobile to bring Apple TV Plus to China. That would be the first U.S. streaming service to be available in China. Now, China is one of the few places on earth that doesn't get Netflix, for example. If the deal were accepted, China Mobile would offer Apple TV Plus for a monthly fee to its customers and then split the revenue with Apple. And the deal would likely, according to the information, only be for set-top boxes. It would not be a mobile app. But do you think this explains why Jon Stewart and Apple executives had a little disagreement on how to do stories about China?
I think that China's not the only one who doesn't get Netflix. I mean, what's up with them, Netflix?
that's where you're going. You just want to avoid the whole China Jon Stewart thing. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
This guy Brian's.
Yeah, smart. No, I will take your very wise lead on that. Yeah, who gets Netflix? It's all over the place, right? All right, let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
Doug wrote in, and I'm assuming, based on the nature of the question, that Doug listens to Cordkillers as an audio podcast through a podcast app, and wrote, "Why are there commercials in Cordkillers number 503?"
You know what? On top of that, we can assume that Doug wasn't listening when we said, buckle up, because commercials are coming to Cordkillers. Why? Because we want to give a premium enhanced experience to Cordkillers behind the paywall by going to patreon.com/Cordkillers. And in the meantime, we don't mind if we do take a little bit of AdSense money from Acast. Is it perfect? No. But are you committed? Yes. And if you are...
Yeah. Here's the thing. We learned it from watching you, okay? And by you, I mean Netflix and Max and Peacock and Disney Plus. So yeah, there is still an ad-free version of Cordkillers available to patrons who support the show directly for as little as $1 an episode, which is barely nothing. You can't even get a sip of coffee for that much. If, however, you can't afford to support us on Patreon or don't want to, we get that. We totally respect that. But we still need to get paid for our work. So Acast has been given permission to insert some ads in Cordkillers. We don't even know what they are, to be honest. So
well, and plus also it's like it's a two-front war. We've always known that we needed to eventually get some kind of ad revenue, but also we're working very, very hard to enhance the back end of everything by bringing value for everybody who actually gives us a couple of bucks that you're never ever gonna notice.
Yeah, it's a very, very small amount. So, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let us know. Maybe you like the ads. I don't know. I never hear them, so I don't know. It also means no ads in this, other than, I guess, technically Brian and I talking about our own projects is considered by some.
That ain't ad. Those are public service announcements.
Yeah, but yeah, we're not doing anything else from our mouths. Tim Sinclair Lee writes, "Gents, when you offered up guests coming back, I wanted to say I'd love to hear from Bryce. I miss him, and it'd be great to hear how he's doing and have him banter with you two again about cord killing. Even if he only has time to talk about something he's really interested in, it'd be great to hear his voice again. And the other person I'd love to hear from is Dan Trachtenberg, as it's been a while since I heard from him in podcast form. Thanks for your consideration, Tim."
You know what I've made a commitment to doing, Tom, is just every single day, just reaching out to people. Like, has it been more than a month? Let me reach out to them. And so I ended up chatting with Ernie Klein today and Cargill the other day. Did you know that Cargill wrote short stories for a Stand anthology, and that Stephen King was like showering praise on his stuff? So it's
That's amazing.
let's just get back in that habit of, of talking to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And consistent with what we talked about previously, if you missed that episode, is instead of forcing ourselves to have a guest every episode, we're looking for, is it an interesting person we want to talk to about cord cutting? Or is it just an interesting person we want to talk to? Then we have them on. And the rest of the time, it's just me and Brian chatting about that. But thank you, Tim. It'd be great to hear from Bryce again, too. So we'll definitely throw that one in the mix as well.
Suggestions at cordkillers@gmail.com.
Robert writes, guys, I'm sorry. I'm not sure why my Patreon kicked me down to $1 a month for the show, and I'm not sure how long it's been like that. I have corrected the issue. Thanks for all you do. Love the show. Do you have the Founders Day weekend thing every year? How about the eclipse? Do you have that every year? Would really like to go to that. Thanks, Robert.
I'll tell you what, man, if we get enough supporters over at patreon.com/cordkillers, I will look you right in the eye and promise that there will be an eclipse every single year.
Wow. Do you hear that, folks? That's the power of your patronage at work. So don't let it go to waste. That's going to do it for us. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.